Wherever you are, so raise your hands like this, everybody. We'd like to say Happy New Year from Channels Television, ladies and gentlemen. Listen. Are you ready to do something free? Oh, yeah, mommy. Are you ready to do something free? I said, Daddy. Are you ready to do something free?
Hold it. Look, you started well. You said, want to start something. Don't start now. Won't I do my show first? Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause. What's the name of your band?
Shego Johnson Band.
Shego Johnson Band. A round of applause for them wherever you are right now. Well, there's still going to be a lot of this to happen, so just keep it locked here on Channel Television. Hold it, guys. And with that, we say welcome to Sunrise, this beautiful, beautiful first day in the year 2022. Thank God I didn't say that old year. It's old already. So I say good morning and welcome. This is Sunrise. Well, the first thing that I like to do for someone is give you a New Year present. Why? Because you lost your international passport. Your name is Kajogbola Idris Abiodun. It's in my hand. I won't zoom into other details. You have to come with proof that you are the owner of that passport before we can give it to you. A very quick one, and so I say welcome to the year, and so many things have already begun to happen in the year, and you don't do better in a year if you don't review how far you have come and how well you have done. One of the things that we have been seriously battling in the year over the past 2 years, 2020 to 2021, has been that of COVID-19. And something interesting has happened in the fact that the Lagos State government, for instance, has said, look, anyone who flouts COVID regulations, we're going to have to deal with the state government. And that conversation has already begun. 6,500 people have been identified as having flouted COVID protocols, and all of the contact tracing and all those things have already begun to ensure that the needful is done. A mobile court has been set up to the effect. What's the whole idea? Let's, as much as possible, curb community transmission. Don't forget that what causes fatalities as far as COVID-19 is concerned is if anyone has a previously debilitating illness, it gets worse. It literally takes out the immune system of the person and makes the situation worse. We don't want that in the year 2022. As much as possible, let's do all that we need to do. If government is playing its part, we have a responsibility to play our part. And that's I really don't want us to do too much talking today. If I had my way, it would just be music and music and music like we did last week. That's last year. That's the last time I was on this show. Anyway, that's where we are. But a number of things are going to play out on this program this morning. And the very first item on our agenda, on the menu today, would be 2022 Filling the Slate. What do we mean by that? How far have we come? How well should we be doing? That's part of what's on our conversation. The second one would be the leadership question and national development. Just recently, the federal government launched a National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. And quite some amount of money has been cited as being necessary to get that done. The leadership question is a very, very big one, and it's something we intend to take very seriously this year on this channel, so stay with us. And then we're going to have a fireside conversation with Mama Fashoyi. Don't forget, do you remember that song, Odun Losokwi? Well, that's not the only famous song that she did with her group back in time. There's also the song Odun Yatura, which means this year will be peaceful. This year will be joyful. This year will be fruitful. This year will be of peace and love. That's what that one is about. And then we're going to have the home stretch. I have a surprise guest on this lineup today. Of course, you have met the Segun Johnson Band. That's not the only one that's coming. There's another one and another one, but let me keep that in the bucket for now. I'll continue to tease you about it. Maybe my producer will play one or two songs from that surprise guest. I don't know. You never really can tell. So right now, let's take a short break, and the very next conversation will start right after now. If Segun Johnson Band is ready, we're glad to hear something now so that we can get going. Where are they? Start something. Come on.
I see daddy now. Say party for Joe. I get on down. I go Monday. I make a go Monday. I mean go below. Go below. Go below. Go below. Go below. Oh yeah, fair Joe. I make a fair Joe. I make a fair Joe. I say go below.
Okay, right. I don't even know where to place these guys now. It's like they're just getting started, and I don't know. You don't want me to do my program, Abby. It's not going to happen. Well, the Segun Johnson Band there. But let's get into the conversation this morning. It's a brand new year. I know you all are expectant of many new things in Nigeria. Improvement in the economy, security, electioneering, and so on. Many people opine that this year is not a year for governance. It's a year for electioneering. That doesn't sound like good news, but how well can government do to give us the Nigeria we yearn for? Elections or no elections? And why must government, or rather governance, pause or steep when we are having elections? Well, I'm not the only one here to have this conversation. We have a couple of guests in the studio and two others joining us virtually. Julie Odigio is here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So good to have you again.
Great. Happy New Year.
Yeah, we should say as well as Norua Edopolo, who is a social commentator. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
And nothing like family coming together to make Nigeria work, right?
Pure coincidence.
Well, that's what happens when you change your name.
I guess so. That's true. That is very true.
But let me begin with you, madam. Sure. So it's a brand new year. Mm-hmm. And as you very well know, as you train us young people to believe, every beginning comes with hopes, mm-hmm. comes with aspirations, mm-hmm. comes with expectations. New Year resolutions and all of that. But then it would seem like over the years, hopes and aspirations in the country or about the country seem to steep because of so many things. What are your hopes for Nigeria in 2022?
I think my primary hope is that hope will never die. that hope for the greatness of this country, this Nigeria, to be realized, that hope will never die. I'm doing a refresher course in French, believe it or not, and I have wonderful people in class with me. And every single one of them, young people, 20s, early 30s, are planning to leave the country. And it suggests to me that an entire generation is losing hope in our future. And so my primary hope is that that does not happen. Because if it does, if we lose our youth, we lose our future, by definition, obviously. So that we never lose hope, that we continue to invest ourselves, our aspirations, our encouragements in the country really is so important. It's paramount. And January is a pretty good time to renew those hopes.
Okay. Just before I bring in Mr. Dokpolo, two other guests are with us here. Segun Mabugunje is a security engineer. He joins us virtually, as well as Ezekiel Nyaitok, who is founder Nigeria First, also joining us virtually from Owerri. Good morning, gentlemen. I'll come to you in a short while. But Mr. Dokpolo, same question, hopes. It is a scary thought, what Madam just said now, and it's a question I've asked a few young people, well, younger people myself, because I'm still a young man. I don't have white hair. It's a question I've asked a number of younger people as well, and it would seem like while preaching it, doing it is not something that they want to think about. But what are your own hopes for 2022?
When I was in my 20s, and I used to hear Wole Soyinka say that his generation was a wasted generation, I said, no, that's not going to be our portion. Yeah? I'm in my 50s now, and I'm fighting hard not to say the same thing. But having said that, Nigeria is a country that no one can truly say can define us fully. We have managed to upstage every, definition, every prognosis, whatever it is, that we are still standing, that you and I can have this conversation in this same Lagos where a couple of days ago, you know what I mean? So I think after the Americans, or even side by side the Americans, I think we are the next set of people in this world who are the most hopeful people. Nigerians succeed in spite of Nigeria. Yeah. Yes, the young people are leaving, but guess what? Young people are also doing great things in Nigeria. I mean, check where all the money is coming to. It's our startups run by the young people. So I've had this conversation with myself over and over again, and my conclusion is that Nigeria will triumph. All right? I believe in this country. It's very difficult to say so now, but just looking at the history. I mean, look at us and COVID, for example. There's no explanation to why we're not dying. Absolutely none. Yeah. All right, so just drawing from our history, our ability to bounce back, not once, not twice have we gotten to the precipice, and for some strange reason, we kind of come back again. And so I believe that Nigeria will succeed. So it's almost like getting water out of stone. But yes, I do believe.
Two of you have done something already to me. While Madam was speaking, I remembered Andrew, that social engineering campaign. And as you were speaking, I remember Beno Mario's song, Nigeria Go Survive. Yes. That's what you're saying. Anyway, I don't even want to get into the musicals now, even though we have a band to it. Segun Mabugunje is a security engineer. In terms of security engineering, so I'm going to use your precise designation, so to speak, for this conversation. Okay, I understand that we do not have both of them yet. But, one of the challenges that we have seen, let me come back to you, madam. As I said, talking about the things as you began to talk, I just remembered that social campaign. Andrew,
Absolutely.
Don't check out.
Yes.
The same thing reflected in that song by Beno Marioge, Andrew, no check out, and all of that. That was significant then. And it was something championed by government on a national broadcast platform.
Absolutely.
Radio stations that belonged to government carried out a lot of these, all of that information always came from the Federal Ministry of Information at the time for the radio stations and the television stations to broadcast always a message from government. That doesn't seem to be happening these days, or is it? Maybe I'm missing it.
Well, as you know, my brother just said, young people are doing very interesting things in this country, including leaving the country but not cutting their ties. I don't know that people still expect that level of upward delegation to government that we once took for granted. I think that there's a greater spirit of autonomy. You might say on the negative side, on the con side, that people have lost faith in government. And so that even if that message came out of government, it wouldn't be well received. So there's a lot going on. I mean, the dynamic in the country is tremendous. I was writing to a group that I belong to probably 2 weeks ago. And I said, we're going through a democracy of trial and terror. Not just trial and error, but trial and terror. I mean, democracy is it's a process as well as a destination. And so, I mean, look at America, for example. Look at India. You know, there's back and forth, there is progress, and then there's slippage. We're no different. And so I think that in terms of government messaging, government responsibility, government accountability, people would second guess any message coming out of at least today's government. And I think young people are self-starters. Their sense of autonomy in this country is amazing. And wherever we go, we remain Nigerians. So I'm not sure that we would entrust, or perhaps we should even entrust such a resounding message to today's government. I don't think we should or can.
Wow. Should or can. What's your take on that?
I agree absolutely.
Is it because she's your sister?
No, because it makes sense.
But you know, it's important. I asked advisedly. It's important that, because if you do not trust the system, you can't get into that system to make it better. So on the one hand, we're advocating that young people should come into politics. On the other hand, we're saying the process is untrustworthy. Then there's a problem there.
Well, yeah, for me, I think that what needs to happen is that we must find a way to get in on our own terms.
Yeah.
Because it is clear now that if you leave, you know, this set of people to run their affairs, they will run us aground. All right? It's also clear that they wield so much power over us. All right? So, yes, you can do a lot on your own, which is what is happening. She speaks of autonomy, all right? Because, I mean, today you can run your business, make your money without having any contact whatsoever with government, okay? Now, but the truth is, what then happens is that government becomes your greatest obstacle, in a manner of speaking, all right? Every time you have to relate with government, you know, is with fear and trepidation, okay? So therefore, what do? Just the same way that we've survived in spite of them, we also must find ways to take back governance in spite of them. All right? So, and I think that's where the ray of hope, of light begins to come, you know, to shine through that. There's something I can do as a young person to bring about change. Okay? And so I think that's the conversation that we should begin to have with the young people, that beyond what you do, you know, on Twitter, in your room, what else can you do? So, for example, you can get a voter's card. The truth is, if 10% of the guys who were at the toll gate were to go to the polling booths at the next elections, they can actually bring about change, as in who runs the affairs of this country. Okay. So there is hope in that regard.
But it's still taking you up on that, you know, the intervention of young people. There's something the vice president said, and he said it more than once. In fact, I got privileged information that even before he knew he was going to be vice president, he'd been doing everything he could on his own individual capacity to mobilize young people.
That's true.
To get into, okay, you can validate that. So the question then is, one of the things that he has said consistently is, in order to make the kind of significant change you want, advocacy is fantastic, but from his own experience as an advocacy champion and as a government official, the differences are clear. as an advocate, you can only advocate. But when you are in government, you can influence change on a much larger scale, which then brings to the question of the kind of policies that will encourage young people to get into the system. Because unless we have those kinds of enabling environments, that entry level might still be a challenge.
May I interject, if you don't mind?
Okay.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about community. So there's something between government, okay, and advocacy. And I think it's community action. I live in Lekki, and so I go for walks. And I look at the gutters, and I am blown away. I mean, the squalor, the filth is just unbelievable. I mean, you're looking at average rents for a two-bedroom apartment of 3 million naira. And yet the gutters are stagnant, they're filthy, they're breeding mosquitoes. And I'm saying to myself, but we're a community. Why can't we take the initiative to, manage our environment better?
And not wait for government.
Precisely.
Okay.
So there is a gap that's available to each and every one of us working in concert between advocacy and government, if you like. And I think that gap is community action. And I think that one of the things we can all commit to from 2022 is to take back, the power that we've lost, the power that we've given up, the power that we've relinquished, to take it back in this kind of community action.
Perhaps a good way to begin would be, how did we lose it in the first place?
Well,
how
this
did
is
we
a
give it
problem.
up?
This is a problem, definitely.
Okay. Just before I come to you, let me introduce Sheol Mabogunje, who is a security engineer. I was trying to throw a question at him earlier. Thanks for joining us this morning, as well as Ezekiel Nyaitok, founder Nigeria First, joins us also virtually from Owerri. Well, Nyaitok, Mr. Nyaitok, let me ask you this. It's a year in which a lot more attention will be given to politicking and electioneering. And from experience, it would seem like governance takes the backstage. Doesn't stop, but just kind of steeps a little. Do you see any chance of that trend or trajectory reversing this year?
First, thanks for having me. Second, I thank God that we've all lived to see 2022. So I wish all Nigerians a very, very thoughtful, deliberate, and intentional 2022. Back to the issue of same will continue until we decide that it should not continue. We will not decide that it will not continue except we are made to see the inevitable concomitant of continuing in the trajectory that we are going. Unless we are made to understand what government is and what politics is, the relationship between governance and politics in Nigeria's peculiar circumstance, and why we have become the poverty capital of the world. When we are able to enlighten our young people where our hope of a good future resides in the first instance, when we that call ourselves women and men of conscience step in and enlighten our young people, whom we cannot blame for acting the way they are doing, because they are acting true to type as we have taught them, when we wake up, when we get remorseful for how we have been either complacent or complicit, then we will be able to arm these young people with the necessary ammunition to save us, to rescue us. Aside from that, you do the same thing the same way, you get the same result, and they have already started gearing up.
You have, okay, permit me to use this term. You have accused us of complicity and complacency. maybe complacency first and then complicity. It would seem like you're saying both are intertwined, and advisedly so. But then complacency is usually a product of being sidelined, don't you think? That's if people feel, for instance, that they're not part of the process. How it would seem like, you know what, they don't want me here, so I'm not dancing to the music.
You know, it's politicians are amazing people. They are absolutely geniuses or ingenious at their game. They know what they want to do. They know the narrative they want to push. They get us to push their narrative. One of such narratives is that we have been sidelined. One of such narratives is that we are handicapped. One of such narratives is that there's nothing we can do about it. And it is such a lie from the pit of hell from those of us that have been to school, even secondary school alone. What is election? How is election run? What is government? What is the recruitment process? They come to you and tell you, you can't do anything, take this money, give us your vote. You collect the money, you give them their vote. They get into power. They make you poorer so that next time they come to you, your price will be lower. And that's just the game. What stops us from saying, for goodness sake, money of one day, 4,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 500 naira? Oh, no, 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 no. We are going to insist on a credible electoral process. And let me tell you something, brother. The day Nigerians say, no way, there's nothing the president can do about it. There's nothing the National Assembly can do about it. All we need to do is to enlighten them and guide them properly so that we don't have a revolution that has no direction. So I think that we have a say. We can do it. They cannot sideline us because the food that one person cooks, the whole nation can eat. But the food that the whole community cooks, one person cannot eat. And that is what we are coming out to enlighten people and say, enough is enough. And that's what we're going to do in 2022.
Let me bring in Mr. Mabogunje on this. You've also heard, Mr. Mabogunje, the president say over and over again that, even in his New Year message, that government recognizes that security is still a significant challenge that the government is contending with. In terms of how far we have come, and then every government official, at least a good number of government officials, have always located a nexus between insecurity and poverty or unemployment and all of those things. So social vices are responsible for some of these challenges. In terms of our security engineering, do you see us piloting affairs or even constructing our engineering, our security engineering in that direction?
Good morning, and let me also start by wishing Nigeria a very happy new year, and to pray and hope that 2022 will be a much better year than 2021. But when we come to the issue of security, like I always say, you can't isolate security from what's going on all over the place. In other words, security is more a consequence of set of failed governance, so to speak. If things are not right, if people are not employed, if people are not, out of poverty, you will keep having a security situation. And if you keep using one single approach to face security, the problem will not disappear because there's a lot of fuel. There's a lot of, people out there who don't have a job and who don't see an option to their existence other than crime or acts of insecurity. So we must always look at security from a totally holistic approach, which is how do we engage with these people and move them out of crime? How do we create more jobs so that they have an alternative to crime or to security? So we can keep sending our soldiers after them, sending our policemen after them, but they will keep coming because there's an endless supply of young men and women who don't have an alternative. And the space here is not providing that alternative. Those that can escape, they go out. It was said earlier that why are the young people going out? Those are the ones that don't see any hope within this system and want to go out to look for better chances. They don't want to go into crime. But there's a much larger percentage of young people that don't even have that option of leaving the country, and they are equally frustrated. So if we don't engage and try to reduce the numbers of these people and give them hope, give them employment, let them see the opportunity, there will always be a security challenge. So to answer your question, I think the approach government has to take moving forward is not just the kinetic approach, sending our troops after them, but looking for ways of getting them employed, showing them an alternative to life, to what they're doing now. And that really is my message, that we can keep going after these criminals, killing them and all that, but they'll keep coming. So we need to look for other ways of engaging them so that they can have an alternative to a life of crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mabuje. Madam, so the president signed the appropriation bill yesterday. I know you are eager to contribute to some of the things that you have said, but perhaps by way of probing some of the actions that government has taken or will take in our interest, so to speak, in the year 2022. The president signed that bill, but he had reservations. In fact, one of the reservations, caught my own attention specifically, and he was talking about the fact that on the one hand, some of the projects that the National Assembly removed, about 10,000 projects were either cut down or, their budgets were removed or lowered significantly and all of that. And that they included something in the region of 6,500 and something projects that were largely the responsibility of state and local governments. That's at the federal level. And he also talked about the fact that some of the projects that were assigned to some of these MDAs of government, they didn't consider, one, the capacity of those MDAs to get them done, and two, the sustainability or the required sustainability funding for those projects. What's your take on those?
Worry, because we should have progressed beyond such banalities. The issue of sustainability, the competencies, whether things belong to local government or state, we shouldn't be having those conversations now. These should be categories that are cut and dried. The Constitution is pretty clear on these things, and we should just follow. Our accounting, our budgeting should follow certain norms. If we haven't established those norms yet, what are we doing? You can't come back and beat your chest every January or so as if these are novelties. They're not. They are perennial problems that we ought to be solving, at least progressively, assuming that we can't solve them in one fell swoop. This is not what we need to hear as a country, given the situation we're in, the economics of the country, the social, the security issues. I would expect a more mature discussion of our budget. It is unconscionable that our president has taken a stance that would lead one to assume that he had not seen it in advance, that it has not been debated, it has not been analyzed.
No, it wasn't. He presented the bill in August.
Yes.
And that bill was what, of course, as is the norm, the National Assembly is going to interrogate it and all of that. And those are the issues that he raised.
And quite rightly so.
Exactly.
Yes, but we're arguing about things that are so basic, given what is confronting us. Our fiscal policy, monetary policy. There's so many things that that ought to entitle one to expect a more mature approach to budgeting at this point, at the federal level in this country. We can't claim that we have capacity issues at that level. I know we've gone beyond that stage. So why are we having these basic, very fundamental conversations that ought to have been dealt with by now? We have look, what are we spending on education? Or rather, what are we not spending on education, to be more precise? The social welfare sector in this country is really seriously underfunded. Seriously, and it has been underfunded for at least 2 decades. This is where the rubber meets the road in terms of our youth, our women, and our most vulnerable. So I don't know why we're having a conversation about constitutional competencies. We ought to be having a conversation and successive conversations about how we're going to invest and reinvest in the well-being of this country so that we can get up off our knees.
Well, Mr. Dekolo, part of the president's comments also included that, look, some of these adjustments that have been made by the National Assembly could frustrate implementation of the same budget.
Yes, and I mean, just thinking, I'm not a government person, but my thinking would have been that the party, APC, would have a think tank that would have members of the party, the legislature, and the executive working behind the scenes. Are you getting it? Mm-hmm. To articulate how they want to move Nigeria forward. And so, at that level, these conversations would have been, held and agreed, such that when they then come out, we see the policy of the party being implemented. I don't know if you're getting it, because, when you say, for example, that a party controls the Senate, controls the House of Reps,
Precisely.
Controls the executive, what that means is that they are working in tandem. What that means is that they can implement their policies. So when you then hear them come out in the open, and it's like a husband and wife coming out and openly disagreeing, you would have thought that you guys should have sorted this out, last night. So the impression you get, therefore, is that, we have cowboys running the show. Because, why would the president be telling us that his colleagues that are supposed to have met, agreed, this is what... So when you can see why, from, it's like on your marks, get set,
Pause.
By the time you say go, the problem is there.
Okay.
So his frustration, unfortunately, is indicative of the dysfunction in the system.
Absolutely.
Mr. Nyaetok, what's your take on that? Because, many over time have accused the National Assembly, or rather have labeled the National Assembly as a rubber stamp. But here it would seem, right in the presence of the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the President commented his disagreement. What do you make of this?
Okay. The very first thing is that anybody who expects a dog to meow or a cat to bark, the problem is not with the dog that cannot meow or the cat that cannot bark, but with the person who has brain and he's expecting that. You see, I've been the national chairman of a party, and I can tell you this with every sense of responsibility. I once contested the vice presidency of IPAC, and IPAC is the body of chairmen of political parties. And the statement I made that drew so much ovation was that every party is government, either in waiting or in action. Where while you are in waiting, you set up what you call the shadow cabinet. It's not opposition cabinet, shadow cabinet that tells you what should be done in housing, what should be done in healthcare, what should be done in technology, all the different facets. And you are in waiting. Once upon a time, PDP was government in power, and APC ought to have been government in waiting. So that the moment they come into power, they just, like my sister said, the tire hits the road. You just hit the ground running. But today, up till today, APC is not government as a party. They are not government. That's why they cannot even form in themselves to be able to have a governance structure within the party. That being the case, if there was that governance structure within the party, there would have been the think tank that my brother referred to, and issues like this would be addressed in principles. That brings me to the final point I would like to make with regards to this. These people, unfortunately, do not draw a line between governance and politics. As a matter of fact, governance does not exist. It's all about politics. What do we mean? Governance is about doing the right thing, having a vision, having a direction, evolving a game plan to be able to actualize a vision. But politics is about speaking loud and saying nothing, amassing money for the next election, and just deceiving the people and all those things. And that's why we've become the poverty capital of the world. I look forward to when men and women of conscience will come in and set up government, which will have governance, and that will bring about leadership recruitment. In fact, I don't even like leadership recruitment. I want to talk of management recruitment, because if you have any system, whether it is a company, the management of that company decides whether the company is going to do well or it's going to go down. As of today, Nigeria is looking for a coach because they want Super Eagles to do well at the football, world championship. And why can't we think that Nigeria should do well by setting up management team recruitment? Are we telling us that this is the best management team to get us out of the woods? We need to start to rethink and kind of recalibrate our mindset and start to think in terms of the proper management team for our country. That is not going to be in the hands of these people that are here. It's going to be in the hands of people that are going to come in. And I call on all Nigerians to wake up. Join a party that makes sense. Let the party become agents of recruitment for the next management team for Nigeria, not agents of electing the next governor or president. No, that mindset mentality has to completely change to become the recruitment agency for the next management team to get us out of the woods.
Have we had any experience of some of the examples that you're giving? Can you cite an example, maybe in the First Republic or in the Second Republic, of maybe a shadow government that you have suggested, or a management recruitment, a management approach to governance? Please, maybe you want to consult your history books for a second. We'll take a few messages and we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. It's still it's the New Year edition. So again, welcome and Happy New Year. So Mr. Yetok, do we have those examples of some of the recommendations that you have made? Because there are those who would argue that if we haven't had it before, where is it going to come from?
If you do the same thing the same way, what do you expect? The same result. So we're looking for people that are willing to do something that just without even thinking about it, it makes sense. But it's good you asked that question. It's instructive because about 2 weeks ago, the National Consultative Front, led by Professor Pat Utomi, set up the shadow government in Nigeria. And I was privileged to be one of those put in the pole position to manage a certain sector. And for over the past 2 weeks, we have been brainstorming. About some days ago, you heard somebody referring to the Shagari administration and the housing schemes and looking at housing as a major driver of the economy. That happens to be my area of specialty. And we are looking at that, at housing being the next GSM, so to speak, of Nigeria. That is not going to only solve a lot of our problems, but is also going to bring a lot of money to the government. So we need to have these thinking faculties, domiciled in parties, which is what the National Consultative Front is doing. And they are hoping that they can move that into a party, and they are working with the ADC for now. They are going to bring a lot more parties together. I'm aware of the talks going on. So we are looking at Nigerians who will say, wow, this makes sense. Let me get in there. And, it's so instructive that the person you have with me, Mr. Segun Mabogunje, is one of the most resourceful persons that I've come across in my entire life. He is so knowledgeable, exposed, and people like him coming into that political arena, you don't need to contest an office, but be there to give that guidance. That's cerebral. We need cerebral governance. We are doing too much of political governance, and it never works. Anywhere in the world, excellence is a statute of general application. And let me stop there for now. The Nigerian Consultative Front is already spearheading that in Nigeria today. I just want all of us to move in and give that impetus and make it work. We can't continue this way. We can't. If there's one word that we must take in this 2023, it is that we cannot continue. One expression, we can't continue this way again. Enough is enough.
Looking forward into the year ahead, into the year 2022 that we have stepped in day one, what would be some of those things that you would say, we haven't tried these? Maybe if we tried this new year, maybe it will work. You may want to add to that the conversations around community responsibility that Madam here cited earlier. What are those things that you would want to say, let's give this a shot?
Okay, I'll make this very fast because of time. Number one is that you do the same thing the same way, you get the same result.
My apologies, Mr. Yatok. That question is for Mr. Sheoma Bogunje.
Okay. I think I should start by saying that in Yatok, you flatter me. But I do agree that we can't keep doing the same thing the same way and expect the same and expect a different result. Well, let's be clear about one thing. Our politicians, or what I like to call the political class, why do they go after power? It's a fundamental question. Are they going after power to serve the people and make the system work? Or are they going into power to control and enrich themselves? If they are going into power to control and enrich themselves, then there's no way they are going to lead any change, because they are benefiting from the existing status, they are benefiting from the existing system, and it works well for them. So why would they, on their own, want to change things? It needs a different set of people with a different mindset who are really, really interested in making the system work, have the moral intelligence, have the competence and the capacity to think outside the box and make the change happen. But if we're sitting down expecting the current set of people to make any change, I mean, you said earlier, this year they are going into politics. Politics is so much more important to them than the hundreds of thousands of Nigerians dying every day, the failing the bad roads, and all the things we see. It's not important to them. What is important to them now is who gets into power in 2023. So if you think, I mean, why would governance stop if they cared because of that, or because they want to run for power? So I really think we should not expect much from our current crop of politicians. And like my brother Talk says, it needs a different set of people with a different set of mindsets. I don't have much expectations from our political class. And I use the word class, political class, advisedly, because in my mind, I view Nigeria from the lens of three classes of people. One is the political class, maybe 1% of the population. They control government. They are professional politics. They have no other way of sustaining themselves other than going into politics. And when they get there, all they want to do is remain there, benefit all they can from it, and stay relevant in the system. Political class, 1%. The second class of people is what I call the elite, or the middle class, if you wish. These are usually professionals, well-educated, well-exposed, knowledgeable. They have competence, but they don't engage with the system. They think politics is a dirty game. They want to sustain their lifestyle, send their children to school abroad, get treatment abroad, watch Manchester United and Arsenal, and, have nice parties with a lot of champagne and go and complain and complain and complain about the failures in the system. Maybe they are 18% of the population. But there's this 80% of the population. They are the poor, they are the disenfranchised, they are they are those that the system is not working for them at all. And they've become survivalists, they've become strugglers. They've become hand-to-mouth people. So they only care about today because they have no vision of what tomorrow could look like.
Okay.
That's why they would take 1,000 or 2,000 from the politicians and vote for them, because they have no vision of what their future will be like.
Okay.
They are also the voting population, because
Yeah.
this same elite class I'm talking about do not vote. They complain on television, on internet, on social media, but they don't vote, and they want things to change. I think that until the middle...
Yes, my apologies. My apologies. It's getting very, very interesting. Madam, those classes, I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with some of those conversations. But I'd like to draw your attention to another class. You know, my analogy of this is, when you want to purchase a vehicle, a car, you look at the exterior and the interior decors and all of that. But many, many times, we need a specialist to look at the engine. The car is not a house. It's a mobile vehicle. Without an engine, it cannot run. The engine of the vehicle that is hardly ever seen of government is the civil service. And it would seem like when we talk about the exterior of governance, we only look at this political class that Mr. Mabogunja is talking about. But the engine that runs that government, we don't seem to pay attention.
Actually, that's a fascinating issue that you brought up. I've just finished doing 2 small assignments in Edo State, and the governor there has invested and continues to invest really heavily in completely changing the civil service. For the first time, we brought in first class and second upper graduates. In fact, offered them almost carte blanche to come into the civil service. Look, we lost a lot, I think, during the military years. The undermining of the civil service, of the bureaucracy in this country, was pretty thorough, and we haven't recovered from that yet. And I think that you have to be as intentional, at least, as Obaseki, to change that paradigm. Unless you give the civil service back their respect, and unless you are able to say to the civil service, because we've invested in you, these are legitimate expectations, I don't think you'll turn this thing around.
What have they lost? What has the civil service lost? You said they lost respect. How?
I think they've lost respect. I think they've lost regard. I mean, I think you got to a point in the civil service where you didn't really expect to be promoted on merit. You were promoted on the basis of longevity, you know, tenure. You went from one grade level. It was very, very boring and repetitive, if you like. You just basically inched forward. No matter how good you were, no matter what you were contributing, that is not the way to pull a state or a nation forward via a civil service. You need a vibrant, you're quite right, it is the engine in the vehicle. And if it's not in the right state, if it's not well trained, if it's not well motivated, if it's not well recognized, if there's no accountability, if you don't have performance metrics, I mean, what do you expect? You'll get nothing out of it.
You're sounding like the engine has knocked.
Your analogy.
Mr. Edopolo, another class of people, if I can say that, or category, catchment in our nation that we don't usually give attention to when we talk about issues like this are the states. What kind of attention should we be given to how states are run? What responsibility would you give to the citizenry in terms of holding their elected officials, from the governor to the members of the House of Assembly to the local government chairmen and authorities, to hold them to account?
In fact, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, and I was saying to myself, I wish that the civil society organizations could have state chapters, you know, who will report on the states and the local governments.
Well, some of them have.
Yes, as they do the federal government. I wish that, yes, you know, advocacy, you know, from what you said earlier on, there's a role for advocacy. I was reading something recently, and it was like, somebody was trying to defend the federal government and say, hey, yes, you are saying X, Y, Z about the federal government, but take a look at the states. This number of states can't do this number of states are not doing this, etc., etc. I think, everybody, even the most unproductive Nigerian today blames the president for all the problems, in fairness to him, all right? So I think that people should begin to actively, hold their representatives to account. At the local government level, I mean, some communities, there is no sign of government.
Yeah.
The only time they come in is to collect either their tenement rates or whatever it is they do. But, the road has gone bad, nobody's doing anything about it. So citizen engagement, you spoke about, the communities. Yes, we will clean our communities, but beyond that, we would ask questions. There's somebody being paid, actually, to ensure that these gutters are cleaned. Who is that person? Maybe after we clean it this time, we should then go to the local council and say, we'd like to meet the councillor who is responsible for cleaning the gutters on so-and-so street.
Doesn't the councillor live in the community?
Well, he's supposed to, but
think so, right?
yes, 9 out of 10, he's far away.
Wow.
He only comes when elections are knocking. So I think that, we really must, citizens must really become active, not just in their little space. My house is, I have a gate, I have a security man, I'm paying for somebody to pick my refuse. I need to go beyond my house to the community. All right, we need to begin to engage at that level. Now, one other thing I wanted to say was that everybody's talking about the need to change, those who are running the show right now. How do we do that? 2 things I would say. 1, the young people need to get involved either in politics or, get your voter's card as a minimum and make up your mind to vote. And then the influencers, I mean, those who are literally, if one of them decides to come out tomorrow without combing this side of his hair, you just go out there and all the young people are leaving this side uncombed. Can those guys also begin to encourage the young people to get involved? All right? I'd like to see a Wizkid, I'd like to see a Bomber Boy telling the young people, go and get your voter's card, go and vote, go and get involved in your community.
Yeah, you're reminding me of some of the things that happened in the 80s, where the apartheid battle in South Africa was won because of...
From the 70s,
advocacy, yes. Advocacy through music, through the media, and all of that. Well, it's a long haul, but I think the first step has been taken. I have to thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and your
thoughts.
thoughts.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Norua Idopolo, social commentator, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For your time and your perspectives today.
It's a pleasure.
Sheo Mabogunje, security engineer, joined us virtually with Ezekiel Yaitok, founder Nigeria First. Both joined us virtually. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts this morning. Sunrise is still on, and Shegun Johnson Band is still on standby.
Baby, you walk, oh my lord. Amore shemi, baby mira. Do to me, go to me saya. Go and feel fetted to Sakandi. Oh yeah, like a this. Everybody now, like a this, like a that. Amu kulumu keke, kulumu keke. You can move to the left, to the right, to the left. Oh yeah, move to the left, to the right, to the left. Oni omo pupa o, omo pupa le mi fe, omo pupa o, je mo po fero re o, kiki omo pupa le mi fe, omo pupa o. Special number for you, eni pe won kere si number wa, won kere si number wa, won kere si number wa, omo mode won yi kere si number. Wakere si number wa, wakere si number wa, wakere si number wa, wakere si number wa. One more song, specially dedicated to all Lagosians. Ani mama mi fe mi so fu mi te òkété ìlú ọgbọ́n tó bá dúró kò ṣọ́ra ó níyàn. àwọn tẹ̀kọ́ á ní pé èkó gbàgbẹ́rẹ́ èkó gbàgbẹ́rẹ́ èkó gbàgbẹ́rẹ́ rárá.
You know, the Lagos one that you just sang now just reminds me of something. You go to every city in Nigeria. Welcome to Ogun State. Welcome to Kano State. Welcome to Katsina. Welcome to Abuja. But when you come to Lagos, this is Lagos. I'm still wondering how they came about that one. Tell us about your band.
Yes, it's the Shegu Johnson brand.
Okay.
Of course, our brand is built on versatility. We do events from corporate, casual.
Are you advertising? I said, tell us about your band. See this man.
Maximizing the opportunity.
You will pay, oh. For you, how did music become a business for you?
Yes, of course, from the beginning, it was just a talent. From our local churches, we all are in the choir. We all have one or two things we do in the choir. So that was how it all started. But year in, year out, we evolved into understanding the fact that we can make a living from our talents. So, of course, we created a concept around music, a band, the packaging and all that. And then all this Oyibo, Kabalitana.
Was that, there's usually that conflict between church music, let me use that term, church music and secular music. How are you able to, because I see that you do both quite, well. How have you been able to bridge it?
I think the thin line is just commerciality and spirituality. Once you're doing church music, you understand that this is spiritual and you're connected to the heavenlies, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, or wherever you are. Now, when you're doing secular music, this is commercial. You need to make sure you satisfy the client. So the line is very thin, but it is very, very obvious for those that are sensitive.
The line is very thin, but it's very obvious.
For those that are sensitive.
If it's that thing, then it must be very easy to blur. Sometimes you just have to say, how can a Christian be singing this kind of song? I hope your pastor is not quarreling with you sometimes.
Of course, he's in support, 100%.
He doesn't have to be, tithes has to come. But I have to thank you. We'll still come back to you. Still have another set of guests with us this lovely New Year's Day. Professor Vincent Anibogu, Director General, International Institute of National Transformation, joins us this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
for coming.
Much. Thank you.
And Dr. John Ekundayo, a leadership development consultant and organizational strategist. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You might be wondering, what are they here for? The leadership question. What else is there? And of course, especially national development. Many have said the glaring reason for the present state of the country is poor leadership, which has affected national development and all of that. So let me begin with you, Dr. Ekundayo.
Yeah.
We have... there's a question I asked earlier in the week. Let me take your perspective. We were talking about this same leadership question. And there are those who draw a line between our leaders who are leading us and our leaders who are ruling us. What's the difference between leadership and rulership?
You want me to start, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. By the way, thank you so much.
Sorry, Mr. Anibogu.
Yeah, that's okay.
Professor Anibogu, I thought.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I want to join you to wish all Nigerians a Happy New Year. Leadership and rulership are very distinct. A leader works in a context where a nation has agreed where they are going. And they have agreed on the steps that we need to take. The role of education, the role of economy in getting us there. We now look for someone who is competent and has the capacity to lead us there. And we encourage him, but he also holds us accountable. As he's leading us to a predetermined destination, we as followers should also be competent to follow the person. But a ruler now dictates for us where we are going, how we should get there. There's no involvement of the followership. That's the main difference.
Would you say that we have had both experiences in the country?
Well, if all of us will agree that there's no definite direction where we have agreed to go to, and we have leaders, there's a good chance we're being ruled over instead of being led.
Wow.
But if we agree that there is a Nigeria, a nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity, where nobody is held captive, if there is such a vision, the question is, are they leading us there?
We'll come to that leadership, that vision question in a short while. Well, Dr. Kunayo, I've given your name to somebody else, so I'm giving it back to you. Now, you've studied this, for years, but there is an aspect which you have focused on in some of our conversations. Have revealed that to me, that you're more interested in the followership.
Yeah.
And you heard Professor Anibogu saying that we need to have an agreement of where we are being led to as a people. Then we select a leader. We here, I would assume, is the followers, the congregation, agreeing that this is the direction we want to go, and then we select someone to take us there. In terms of followership, do we even have a followership?
Thanks, Ayo. And really, it's something like you said, I've studied over years, and coming to the context of Nigeria, it's appalling that many of us followers are so much alienated from the political system, docile, lackadaisical. We have not really engaged, with the system. And, the NSAS, the hashtag NSAS protest, to me, was really messed up. It was hijacked. And then there was something in it as a followership scholar, because one of my daughters participated in the protest before it was hijacked. And I told her, point blank, I said, where are your leaders? Who are the people leading you? She said, they are the background. And I said, no, it's wrong. You see, because nowhere in history, you see followers coming up, agitating for something, and the leaders are at the background. And I hope they are hearing me now. So the whole effort went down into the drain. I think those that were leading then prefer to be leading from the background. And their faces were not really identified. They're supposed to come out into the front front. By now, in the political calculation of 2022, going to 2023, some of them, Nigerians will have been thinking, oh, we know this guy. He could go for chairmanship here. We know this guy. He could go to House of Assembly. This guy can go for House of Rep, like that. And then we begin to see the real followers imagining. So we need to do a lot about followership in this country. You see, because the politicians will keep on, enticing them, inducing them with money, and we are in it now. This is the year of the primaries towards 2023. And unfortunately, we have followers that are docile, we have followers that are not, and most of them, they are not educated. In fact, the educated ones are the ones giving us more problem. You see, they make more noise, they make more noise on the social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. Easy, but like, Pastor Edepola was saying here the last segment, most of them cannot even get the PVC to even vote in the election. Most of them, they don't even when they have the PVC, many of them will not come out on the day of election to vote. And many do not have any political affiliation. You see, so that is where we are as a country.
Okay.
But we need to shape up.
Prof,
Sir.
you hinted at vision the other time, that, and you said, if there is such a vision, is that to say there is none?
Well, we're talking about leadership and national development. You have to define leadership in the context of national development. So there has to be a national development plan. You now look for a leader that will help you to actualize it. In the context of Nigeria, a vision has been cast. If you look at our national anthem, for example, it says, "Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey." There's a call already that has gone out. What is the call? To serve our fatherland. Okay? And then he gives you the qualifications of that service in love, in strength, and in faith. What is faith? Seeing the future that the nation can attain and serving in boldness and in confidence to get us there. So there's a vision that will arrive us at one nation that is bound in freedom, peace, and unity. In fact, the old national anthem, which to me there's really no difference, it says, "A nation where no man is slaughtered, where no man is belittled. You know, a nation where we live in brotherhood." You know, I don't know which one you were born into, Mr.
Both.
You were both, yeah? You know, I used to sing that with passion. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongue may differ, but in brother. Do you have a leader that's actualizing that? The vision has been cast. The contest has been set. A leader comes in to actualize that. And I dare say, a leader that's not actualizing that is not serving Nigeria. Therefore, you are not a leader. You are to come and bring to pass the agreement of the people. So there's already an existing vision. One nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity, where everyone has an equal opportunity, not equal result. You give everyone an opportunity. Through enterprising, they produce their result. If they don't produce any result, then they starve. But you don't give everybody equal result. That's what a leader does.
Okay. Now, you've hinted at the National Development Plan.
Yes.
We've had national development plans since as far back as I can remember. We've had pre-independence.
Yes.
We've had the first National Development Plan, second National Development Plan, third National Development Plan.
Yes.
We've had Vision 2000, Vision 2010, Vision 2020, and all those things. And now we have a National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. We need 340-something trillion naira to actualize that particular one. So, leadership and this National Development Plan, would you say there is a consensus among Nigerians for this plan, or you think our representatives have adequately represented our interests in that plan?
Well, Mr. Ayo, let me ask you a question. Did you partake in the development of that plan? Were your views sought?
Well, there are those who will argue that we have representatives in government who...
Even representatives are supposed to come back to their constituents and get their buy-in.
Yeah.
You see, I cannot follow a vision that I'm not part of designing. I don't understand that. It creates a disconnect. You have to get me involved so I can buy into it. I can defend it. I can pledge my talents, my skills to make sure it comes to pass. When you mention that, it's alien to me. I don't know what it is. It's nothing but a beautiful piece of paper to which I have no emotional connection because I was not consulted.
Dr. Ekulayo,
Yep.
how significant is that? We have leaders in office for a reason. We have members of the National Assembly for a reason. Isn't that their job to come up with these plans?
Yeah, let me just, when you were talking about plan, you know, we have plans, like you said, in time past we had, and we still have now. I can see the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, talking more about this plan. but I'm not excited. Really, Prof made mention of something. It's not inclusive. You see, leadership, let me go back to leadership. Leadership involves followers, leaders, in a context, like 3 concentric circles. There's something that connects them together. Leaders are on a journey. You are taking followers to a destination, mutually agreed destinations. So that's why I look at followers in this country and say, well, we are docile. Because, you see, just like Sonny Ade sang one time, you know, is the driver driving me forward or driving me backward? You know, I have to use that analogy. You see, but Nigerian followers, they don't care. They seem not to care, especially the elites there, those who are well-read, those who are well-educated.
You didn't conclude that song by Sonny. The answer is, I don't know.
I don't know, and that is it. Thank you, Ayo. And that is it. Now,
but shouldn't the followers be curious?
Now, you see, because of peculiar gain, you see, because of the venison, some of these followers that are engaging now, which are just about 10-20% that are engaging, about 80-90% are not engaging. They are nonchalant. They are about what hustle and bustle, hustling. What will I get? What will I make? How will I make it?
You blame them, Dr. Kudai.
Now,
people are poor.
Now, I still want to talk
live.
about that plan. I want to talk about that plan.
Okay.
Now, it's not just about 3-year, 4-year, 5-year development plan. You see, like I said in one place, Singapore drew up about 40-year development plan. And the vision, the long vision was that we want to be a first world country in so number of years, by the millennium.
Yes.
And they started working on that. Now, somebody said, well, maybe because they have strong leadership, not participatory democracy like Nigeria. You see, but we have other nations too that have participatory democracy, and they have their plan. So Nigeria should be thinking of strategic master plan of like 20 years. It doesn't matter, President Muhammadu Buhari will not be there, or Ishibaju may not be there, but set us on a path, you see, for years that we work, then you now have people to monitor, to track, report back, feedback into the system to see how we are faring. Like Saudi Arabia now, I was involved with a colleague in Harvard during our training, and they said, well, government, I was sent here, and many of us to Harvard, to learn, because there is a 2030 strategy plan. Many people will be shocked. 2030, where Saudi Arabia will be. You see, because they are all working. They are acquiring learning from Asia, from America, to make this thing to work. And there are people tracking the progress. That is one thing in Nigeria. We just have a plan. And then it's just allowed to go. You see, if followers are carrying along, like what Professor said, they will know where we arrive. If you click on Google now for Malaysia, I was there, I did my PhD there, and just NKR, National Key Result Area, NKRA, just put it on Google. That is following the master plan of Malaysia. It will give you on road development, education, health. You will see it. Citizens will see it. We don't see anything here. The more you look, the less you see.
Prof,
So,
let's cite the example of that vision, the example of that vision that he cited. That's the kind of thing that I had in mind. You're correct. The vision has been cast, one nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity.
yes.
In brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland.
Yes.
All of that is there. But to what end? He has cited the example of countries that said, by so number of years we want to be this.
Yes.
By so number of years we want to be this. There are those who will reference Russia or Germany. During the Industrial Revolution, they decided that this is what they want to become, and they became that. What do we have in Nigeria? And what visionary direction would you recommend that, given the energies and the strengths that we have, this is what we can achieve within X number of years?
I totally want to agree with Dr. Okundayo. I love Singapore. In the Institute for National Transformation, that's one of the models we have taken time to study, because their background is very similar to ours. You know, back in 1965, Singapore was a very poor country.
Very poor.
In fact, let me tell you this. Let me tell you a story. Singapore gained independence, I believe, September 15, 1965. On January 1966, he was invited to Nigeria by Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa for a Commonwealth conference to discuss Rhodesia. How old was Singapore as a nation when Lee Kuan Yew arrived in Lagos? Less than 5 months. Less than 5 months. Nigeria has already been in the business of nation building for 6 years. When he arrived, of course, he said Lagos was in a siege, just like we are still in a siege. Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa held a banquet that night at Federal Palace Hotel. And he was sharing his experience sitting with a very famous Nigerian politician at that time. I don't need to mention the name. What I'm talking about is in chapter 22 of his book, From Third World to First World, the Singapore story. And he was sharing the discussion he was having. Mind you, he has been in office at that time as a nation for less than 5 months. But listening to our leader, from the conversation, he made a statement. Nigerians are a different set of people dancing to a different tune. And he concluded with the mindset I see, based on what I'm hearing, this nation will never develop. 55 years later, he is still proven right. In the meantime, they have gone to become one of the best-run nations in the world, the third or the fourth richest country in the world without any natural resources. What was it that he saw that made him conclude that as long as our leaders have this mindset, Mr. Ayo, once I know your mindset, I can predict where you're going.
But how useful will that mindset be to building a nation? You'll allow me to pause you?
Yes.
We'll take that on when we return from this
Exactly.
break. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. We're still talking about the leadership question and national development. By that, I'm talking about Nigeria. Just so we're clear, you could be watching us right now in any part of the world. Prof, you were sharing the Singapore story.
Yes.
And you were talking about certain chapter 22, all of the, and all of that. But then you also cited a mindset thing.
That's it.
When you talk about mindset,
yes,
whose mindset at this point?
Every nation, every organization ultimately take after their leadership. If a leadership, lack the capacity to lead a nation forward, they will, without not meaning to, lead the nation backwards. What was Lee Kuan Yew saying? I've assessed your leaders. I've assessed their ethical and moral capacity. I found it wanting. I assessed their intellectual and emotional capacity, their social capacity, their ability to bring their people together. Because in Malaysia, you don't just have tribes, you have 4 races, Indians, Chinese.
Malay.
Yet this man was able to bring them together. So I've identified 5 capacities that a leader that must lead Nigeria into a new era must have. Number 1, ethical and moral excellence. You can't have leaders that compromise, that take themselves above the law. You can't have leaders that treat their own people one way and treat other citizens another way. It's not acceptable. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. In Singapore, the Chinese are the majority. almost what, 70, 80%. They were agitating for Chinese language to be the national language. And Lee Kuan Yew, of Chinese descent, said no. And when they tried to push it, he imprisoned all of them. This is his own brothers. And said, you can't do that, it's unfair. Which leader in Nigeria would take the risk of not promoting his own people, but promote national unity? Show me one.
Singapore story.
Quickly run through the other four. Very quickly.
Yes, the second one is emotional stability, not being sentimental. The third one is intellectual capacity, understanding that there are 7 spheres of the society, there are systems that govern them. You may not be an expert in all of them, but have an idea how they work together and be able to find leaders that will push it. And number 4, you must have a good social capacity. Ability to bring people together, bring the best out of every group. And finally, in order to do this, you must have physical vitality, because it's hard work. You can't bring somebody who is half dead and want him to run your nation. They don't have the energy.
Dr. Kudayo, during the break, one of our breaks, you talked about accidental leadership. Why that's it sounds a little troubling and needs a little more exploration is because where there is a vision, there needs to be a conscious leadership choice. So, because if you want, to set up a bank, for instance, you don't go looking for farmers to come be your tellers. You have to get the right persons for the right job in order to get the job done. So, but I don't think what did you call it, accidental leadership can happen in a well-structured organization.
Yeah, well-structured society. Now, let me just respond to you. You see, because look at from 1999 to date, you see unwilling leaders. That's another language I will use for them, apart from accidental leaders. Obasanjo just came out from prison. After being in prison for a Fanta coup or whatever, and then some people thought in their native wisdom, Nigeria wants to divide. People like IBB and the rest, and they look, who has a nationalistic spirit? That was the thing that was prevalent then. Because, and then, we knew Obasanjo before. He was a military leader. He has this capacity to bring all of us together, whether you are a Doi, BBO, Hausa, Fulani, and the rest. And the man just coming from prison. He has no political aspiration. He has no whatever. Because hurriedly, they say, you belong to PDP. Join PDP. And the rest of it is in history. And then he became our leader. And he ruled us again for 8 years. Like, he was a friend of Lee Kuan Yew now, Prime Minister of Singapore. He used to go to, when I was in Singapore, I spent 4 years in Singapore. Baba Obasanjo will come to Singapore. Now, how much are you be able to glean and learn and put into our system? It's a question. Now, I'm asking. So, when you talk about a vision, you see, the followers, too, they are not really incorporated, like what Prof said the other time. There are some people, this is where I'm going now, the crux of the matter. There are some people in this nation who believe it is their onus to pick leaders for us. And they are at work now. They did that for us in Buhari coming to power. And like I said of Obasanjo too, it's always every season. 2022 is their year again. And most of us, professors, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and the rest, we are all about our business. We don't care. You see, who becomes our governor? Who becomes our local government chairman? Now, these politicians know the people who really vote. But they are the mechanics, they are the drivers, the NUTR, or what do you call them? You see, these drivers and all the rest of them, the yallojas and the rest of them, and they go to them.
You talked about the challenge of followership, or are we then to say that it is that the failure of followership is responsible for the failure of leadership?
Correct. I would say that. But people normally say, it's because the followers, a lot of poverty, leaders have led them into poverty. Will poverty not make me to be able to reason and think?
That's you. Don't forget that one of the other statements that have been prominent, I think, was it this year or last year, 2020?
Yeah.
2021 or 2020. Some people said that poverty had been weaponized. So if people have to contend with, poverty on such a significant scale, the only thing they want to do really is to exist before they start living. So if people have been, the poverty has been so weaponized against the people, and they have been so conscripted, choosing a leader will be the farthest thing from their minds.
I want to give you a point here. We have this issue in our population, and I want you to take cognizance of this. 65% of the population of Nigeria are youths. And among these youths, quite educated people, vibrant, you could see the answers. You see, but where are they channeling their energy? This is the year now for them. I'm not talking about protest. I'm talking about proactively engaging the system. Let's all go back to our wards. Go back to your hometown. Go back to where you are staying. Join political parties and be part of what is going on in the world. You see, that's where it starts from. And when they see more of you and I coming in, they will respect us. Then they will respect us. You see, when we are talking about, maybe
go on.
You see, when we are talking about what is delaying the electoral act now, direct and indirect primaries, and this is where followership coming. You see, if it had been direct, more people will vote in the leaders they want. But when it's indirect, you have delegates who will be monetized and in deals to work for some people.
Given the position of the president on that, the cost and some other, ancillary issues around it, would you fault the president's position then?
Well, for me, I would. Why? Number one, the bill was passed to the president, and for almost 4 weeks, if I'm correct now, you see, the decision supposed to have been made before 19th of December. And the president was in Turkey at that time, returning on 19th, taking the action. So for me, the time of making the decision, it's not just about rejecting it because direct primary or indirect primary is involved. He's supposed to have made the decision and return it back earlier, so that before the National Assembly go on recess, they will have been able to do the needful and possibly pass the bill over. And then we'll have had electoral amendment now.
Well, Prof, you highlighted the fact that we're talking about the leadership question and national development.
That's correct.
It would seem like without one, we cannot have the other. You said it the other time.
Yes.
Well, we should be talking about the leadership question in the context of national development.
Yes.
Where do we go from here? This is 2022. Choices are going to be determined for choices to be made in 2023. What would you recommend for the followership, especially in the choice of leaders that will ascend the throne, so to speak, in the year ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Ayo. In fact, at the Institute for National Transformation, it's our major concern. I have found out recently, if the followers are not following because they have not been taught. Don't grade an exam that you have not given. They haven't been taught. Recently, we had a 3-day training for university students here in Lagos. 3 days, intense. When the students came in the first day, and we were talking about national issues, they were totally disconnected. Totally nonchalant. I could even discern every one of them was devising a plan to escape. But by the time we finished on the 3rd day, they were all excited. In fact, the testimonies were that I now believe in Nigeria. So I think what we need to do, Dr. Kundayo, we need to engage actively to train our people. They don't understand governance. They don't understand politics. They don't even understand national development. All they know is personal survival. let me work hard or connect to somebody, make money, buy my house, buy my car. I have made it. They don't understand life beyond that. So even at the Institute for National Transformation, we have made student development, student training our top priority. If we can do that, we may not see the impact in 2023, but by God's grace, by 2020, what is the next round? 27. We should begin to see. So these young people we are talking about, they have not been taught.
Okay. In terms of vision casting,
yes,
Prof, this Fourth Republic will be 23 years old.
Yes.
On May 29. And this is how far we have come. 23 years into the Fourth Republic. The first time we're having the unbroken democratic experience in our life as a nation of more than 6 years. So in terms of vision casting, what should Nigeria be looking at for another 20 years from now?
Sayed, that's an excellent question. You know, we live in a very dynamic world where things are changing so fast. So first of all, we need to scan what I call the global trend. United States will always study what the world will look like 25 years ahead. So for example, in 2005, they were already producing results for 2025. They were asking the question, what would the world look like? It is based on that projection that you now know the kind of leaders you need to develop, the kind of where the emphasis should be. You can't treat everything equally.
Okay.
So I would say we need to scan the horizon. Certainly health, youth development should be top-notch. Economic sustainability, self-reliance, because there are no more aids to be sent to us. We need to develop internal capacity to feed ourselves, take care of ourselves, help our people. That's what I would say.
Dr. Kundayo, my question on that same trajectory will be about education. You are both in the academia, so you would know what the education policy of Nigeria looks like. Is it visionary? Is it futuristic and all of that? Those are the questions that I want you to speak to.
We were on a platform yesterday, and where former vice chancellor of the university was saying, the government should fund education more. You see, and I look at it. You see, for me, I was in government. I just retired last year, and I know when you come for budgeting, health is there, environment is there, and all they want part of this cake. You see, and unfortunately, if we are to give everything to education and health, then how are we going to pay salary? So when we look at education, how do we make it functional? For me, I would say, basically, the primary and secondary education should be rejigged. Number one, should be rejigged in such a way that we want, you see, people should be able to, after primary and secondary school, you may not even say you want to go to university. That's what I experienced in Singapore. When I was in Singapore, 4 years I spent there. And, I discovered that from secondary school, many of them will just go for a job, go and work for 2-3 years before they are thinking of polytechnic or university. So if we can make it more vocational so that you learn 1 or 2 trades from primary school to your secondary school, 1 or 2 trades. So by the time you finish, you may not even immediately go to the university or go to the polytechnic. You see, you can already begin to produce, because our nation now needs to be producing. You see the National Assembly putting more than 1 trillion into the budget because they are thinking that the oil price that's not stable will go up in 2022. You see, and where is the production? So this is the thing for our education. It has to be made more functional, and then for our tertiary education, also we keep on having issue with the government, because government cannot meet. Professor is here, cannot meet that with demand. In what happened in US, he can tell us. Is you go for loan, you go for bursary. You see,
it's interesting where all of this conversation has come to now, especially when you think about the fact that the one of the primary visions of the NYSC is to train, is a transition program into the real world, so to speak. And they're supposed to teach entrepreneurship and all of that, and yet we still have jobless youths. I'm just wondering. Anyway, we're out of time for this conversation now. Dr. John Ekundayo, leadership development consultant and organizational strategist, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming once again.
Thank
And
you for having me.
Professor Vincent Anibogo, Director General, International Institute of National Transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
for provoking us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, so it's still music. Shegun Johnson Band is still here with us.
Ani ẹyin tí mi báwo ni o ṣe wá. You say ṣe wá. Alẹ́yìn tí mi báwo ni ṣe ṣe wá. Oh yeah, Monica, don't you wanna dance? Don't you wanna dance? Don't you wanna dance? Dance to my music. Ready to dance? You ready to dance? You ready to dance? Dance to my music.
I don't even know where to begin with you, this guy. I don't know where to begin with you. But it's not today. The battle I'm going to have with you come another time. So right now we want to have another conversation now. And for many of us who are conversant with the end of the year song, Odun Losopin, it was released in the 80s or thereabout, and it became an anthem for most people, especially when the year is about to end. So we have the singer of the song with us this morning, Mrs. D.A. Fashoyin. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Compliment of the season to everybody. Happy New Year, and God bless you.
We are not singing Odun Losopin again because the Odun has me.
Yes.
But there's another song that you did, which is Odun Yatura. We'll come to that one. But where did that song come from?
Which?
Odun Yatura.
Where it comes from?
Yeah, how did the idea for the song?
It's through inspiration. When you want to compose, you pray, read the Bible, look at your environment, and then compose. You leave. Sometimes the Lord will speak to you on what to say, on which song. So it comes from the Lord.
Talking about inspiration, over the years, I mean, you have seen decades by the grace of God. You have come to where you are now, and you have at least you led a band, you literally led the band, and many times, many people have followed that, and many people followed you, and up until now, 25 albums after, your name hasn't really gone down. So most certainly inspiration has played a lot in that regard. So in terms of inspiration, what would you suggest to people who are making music now, especially inspirational music? What would you suggest to them? Or maybe I should begin by asking, what's your assessment of how music makers make music today?
Thank you. Point of correction. I'm not the leader of the group. Jesus is the leader. I'm not the leader.
But on the album, they said led by D.A. Fashoyin, so...
I'm only representing Christ. Thank you very much.
Because otherwise, we would have seen led by Jesus Christ. Ably assisted by...
He's speaking through us. Jesus is speaking through us. You can't see Jesus with your naked eye.
Okay, yes.
So praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Now, you are asking about the present
Yes.
people releasing. You are asking about inspiration.
Yes.
Yes, before you can be inspired, you have to read the Bible, the Word of God, and pray. It's only when you can pray and read the Word of God that you can be inspired. That is the time the inspiration will come. If you want to you have something in mind. You want to touch people's lives. That is your motive for releasing gospel music, is to touch people's lives, to preach them, to have a change of heart and be born again. So before you can do that, you have to be able to pray fervently well and then read the word of God. Because all songs that comes from the word of God, you know, the word of God is a two-edged sword. When anybody hears it, it touches their lives and do something special in their lives. So if you want a song that is inspired, you have to be able to pray well and then read the Bible and fast. Then the word of God will come, and whatever comes into your heart, then you know that it is an inspiration from God, and that what that comes out of your heart will touch people's lives, and their lives will change. Yes?
Yeah, in terms of touching people's lives, for instance, well, a good number of people would always reference the music that your group made over the years, thanks to the inspiration of the leader of the band, which is Jesus Christ, as you said. You know, they would reference how those songs touched their lives and helped them to change their lives, because those songs spoke to certain specifics. So it's not just about claiming the promise of God. It's also about doing something about it. And many of these people, some people would reference that there is a responsibility for parents. You're a parent. So people make promises, they do one thing or the other, they pass on their virtues and ideals onto their children. But then there are those who are still saying, we still have the challenge of parenthood in this nation, in terms of the people that find themselves in positions of authority or positions of leadership at various threats, not just in government, even in private sector, that it's all a function of parenting or a lack of it. What would you be saying to parents watching you and listening to you right now as we go into this new year?
Thank you very much. My word for parents in all homes is that when a parent knows Christ and prays well, if you are a parent, you pray your children to success. You pray them to success. What you say out as a parent to your children takes effect in their lives. For instance, for example, there are some parents, when they are annoyed, they will just say a negative word into the lives of their children, and later it will come up. It will come, because whatever you say with your mouth, as a parent, words are powerful. When you say, you want to discipline that, but not cursing them. As a parent, it will not go well. The future of those children will not be palatable. But as a parent, we as a parent must have the Spirit of God in us. How do you have the Spirit of God? You read the Bible, you pray, and ask the Holy Spirit to lead you to be able to direct your children.
One important thing that you said is right now, which I'm sure many people can identify with, is speaking the right words into the lives of your children.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming this morning. Well, Mama is going to sing right now, and I'm sure that
Point of correction, I'm not Mama, I'm 16.
Oh, my apologies.
I'm just 82.
My girlfriend is just about to go on set.
You are talking.
Well, she'll be doing a song shortly, and I'm sure her mic will be handed to her. But just a very quick information. Now, Kajogbola Idris Abiodun, this is your passport. You lost it somewhere. You have to come to our station to collect it. And please, hand Mama her, Sweet 16, her microphone.
Yeah,
Kajogbola Idris Abiodun, your passport is right here in my hand. I know what you look like, so if you show up and you are not the one, come with your real face so that we can know it is you. Come with proof of ownership so that this can be handed to you. Mama, Sweet 16.
You are talking.
All right, give us a song now. The one I would love to listen to, it's a new year. So I want to hear Odun Yatura. I don't know if that's what you have planned.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Take it away.
Okay.
Go ahead, guys.
Ohun tí mo dáwọ́lé.
Ayọ̀rí.
Ohun tí mo béèrè.
Olúwa yóò ṣe. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi.
Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi. Ohun tí mo dáwọ́lé. Ayọ̀rí. Ohun tí mo béèrè. Olúwa yóò ṣe.
Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi.
Ọlọ́run ó ṣeun tọdún tó kọjá. 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 Èyí tí a bẹ̀rẹ̀ kó tù wá lára. Ọlọ́run ó ṣeun tọdún tó kọjá.
Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi. Ohun tí mo dáwọ́lé, ayọ̀rí. Ohun tí mo béèrè, l'Olúwa yóò ṣe. Ọlọ́run á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi.
Ọdún tá a bẹ̀rẹ̀ kó san wá fún rere. Ká má ṣe bòṣì
Kó tù wá lára.
ọdún tá a bẹ̀rẹ̀ kó san wá fún rere. Ká má ṣe bòṣì
Kó tù wá lára.
ìgbálẹ̀ àwo alẹ́ àníkú ohun rere. Kì í sọ nínú ìgbà oṣù ká má fi rọ̀ wọ́n lórí. Èdùmàrè Adéwọlé ṣe adójú tẹ́lẹ̀ gan. Ọdún tá a bẹ̀rẹ̀ kó san wá fún rere. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi.
Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi.
Ohun tí mo dáwọ́lé ayọ̀rí.
Ohun tí mo béèrè, l'Olúwa yóò ṣe. Ọdún yìí á tura kò ní lè kókó mọ́ mi.
Ẹni kò yí ẹ má banújẹ́. Èdùmàrè ti ṣẹ́gun àṣedànù. Oníṣẹ́ ọwọ́ á máa rí ṣe. Gbogbo oníṣòwò abóde pàdé. Ọkọ ọba oníṣàwà lẹ́sẹ̀. Àyùn lọ àyùn bọ̀ lọ́wọ́ ń yẹnu. Ọ̀tá eléni ládẹ̀yìn lẹ́yìn àmì. Ọdún àyàbò fún wa.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
Ọdún àyàbò fọ́kọ.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
Ọdún àyàbò fáyà.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
Ojú sọkún.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
A ò ní faragbá wẹ́.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
A ò ní fi gbó ṣe lé.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
A ò ní rí òwò wọ́jà.
Àbí ọdún á tura fún wa àṣẹ.
Ká rain or what? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I got a song say. I got a song say. Wọ́n pè mí kí wọ́n ṣoríire. 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 Oh, yeah, what you waiting for? Congratulations, neighbor, now who, yeah. Oh, yeah, what you waiting for? Congratulations, Lily. Where's the celebration, everyone? Whoa, whoa. Everybody, Ọlọ́run mi, my comfort, oh, oh. Morire, 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 by you. Okay. Morire, 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 by you. Are you dancing? Oh, more, very grateful. Very grateful. Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody. You know how we do this little Central Bank blessing.
Fantastic. To God, yes. Yes. Tell us the story of this song again. I've heard it a few times before.
Oh,
this
yes.
particular Morire.
Okay, this Morire song. Well, apparently, there came a time we decided in Midnight Crew that we should find individual expressions. And my mom never, she won't fail to always let you know that after God is God. You have to start with God and make sure it starts with God, right? And I thought that, I'm not going to start Mike Abdul outside Midnight Crew. What am I going to do? And honestly, I prayed.
Wait. You mean you all sat down and agreed on that?
Yeah, we all agreed on that.
Why? Why did it agree? The band was doing amazing.
It was doing amazing, you know, but we were very true to ourselves. We knew that as time would go on, there'll be times that your family will need you more. And you may not be able to give yourself to the group, as it were. So we decided, let's have individual expressions. It really doesn't change anything. You are still Midnight Crew.
That's really interesting. I didn't know this. I said that, because groups don't normally want to go their separate ways.
For real? Yes, they don't, really.
And then for you guys to sit down and say,
yes,
let's do this.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. I think it was better for us. For us, it's like having a mother brand that has several other brands. Okay. All right, so it was still true for us. It was still Midnight Crew. It was still, you see Mike Abdul anywhere, that's still Midnight Crew. You see Patricia King anywhere, that's still Midnight Crew. Odoayo Ojo, Benga Ebola, that is still Midnight Crew, whatever it is that they do. So we made up our mind to do that. And then, of course, I prayed. I really, really wanted God to be part of it. And it seemed I heard a voice that said to me that look for the person whose voice is heard in your generation right now. At that time, the big song in churches then was, what's that song? Help me. What's that song? No, it wasn't Morire. No, the song by Monique. Obagugwaye. That was a song then. It was Kabiesi Obagugwaye. That was a song everywhere. And then I called her and I said, can you please write me a song? She said, how?
Really?
I said, how? I said, no, it's an instruction I received. I think you should write me a song.
How did she receive that one?
She found it shocking. Like, excuse me, how? And then I traveled with Midnight Crew. We were in the US. And one morning while in the US, she called me and said, since you are the only person that said this kind of thing to me, I had a dream when I heard a song in the dream. They were singing the song. It was vibrant. It was big. And I think it's your song because before you left, you told me to write your song. And I don't really write like that. And I said, oh, yeah, sing the song. Then she went, Morire, 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 bao, oshemi lore. Exactly the way she heard it.
Wow.
Morire, bao. Now, this is it. I was in the US. I was in America, right?
We know US is America. You don't have
Do you
to
understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to emphasize is that Oyinbo Breeze was blowing my brain. So when she sang that song, the song felt very local. I just said, Omo, you have to sleep and dream another dream. I'm not feeling this thing. You know, I'm international. I'm Mike Abdul of Midnight Crew. I can't be doing local stuff. And she be like,
mouth.
now this is mouth. And then she be like, okay. But later in the day, I felt okay. So if God gives you an instruction, must you like the instructions before you obey it? I think yours is to obey it, not to like it. You don't have to like it. So I felt, hey, am I not losing a great step in destiny? And I quickly called her back. I said, please sing that song again. She sang the song again. It's still no sweet for my mind. But because I've chosen to obey the instruction, I told her this song is sweet.
Even though you didn't taste it, so long as it sounded it.
This song is sweet. So for me, what was sweet at that point was the instruction. So I traveled back to Nigeria, and then we went to record the song. Immediately, I dropped that song. It was like the whole world that was saying to me.
Just a second. What was the process of the production like?
Process of production, of course. Okay, we had to, we had to sit down and determine, okay, who is the best person to interpret, who is the best producer to interpret the song. We met with him, had a meeting, we spoke about it, got to the studio, and the only thing we did not talk about was the bell. So somehow downstairs.
That bell.
That bell.
That bell.
Somehow downstairs at the studio, there was one woman selling bell. I said, guy, let's go and buy a bell there. This bell that I'm saying, this small one, that's the one we're using. So we bought the bell.
Oh, please, to be clear, church bell.
Church bell. It was church bell. It was CNS bell. And yes, we played it on, and I mean, it turned out good. It was like the whole world has been waiting for this, and I just think I learned a lot from that experience. Beautiful.
That's you know, there's something that you also said now, which might be a pointer to what some people need to do, because sometimes the partnership you need is not, it doesn't look like the partnership that you need.
For real.
I think that's the message here. True. The partnership you need may not look like the partnership that you need.
For real.
Well, everyone is looking for breakthrough. So the breakthrough idea may not look like the breakthrough idea. And you said you learned from that experience. What are the lessons that you learned?
Well, I think one of the first one is actually you don't have to like the instruction. I think your blessing is in the obedience. Your blessing is actually in the obedience. That's the first one for me. Committing everything to God and of course following through. It's okay to pray, but it's also okay. Make sure that when you're praying also to yourself. So you're listening to your words and not working against the things you're praying for. I learned that. I also learned, like you said, partnership, honestly. You really cannot be an island. I don't believe in, I'm a self-made man. Nobody was there for me. Somebody was there. The driver that drove you was there. The cook, the person that made that food was there. The person that made the door open was there. You know, so I don't take for granted the gifts of men. You know, So I think basically those are the two big lessons I really learned from making that song.
I asked Shegun Johnson earlier about this same question that I want to ask you. You do strictly Christian music?
Yes, sir.
And but he does secular and Christian. And I was asking him about how blurred or defined the line between secular and Christian music is. There are those who say they sing inspirational music.
Yeah.
And most certainly, we cannot remonstrate the place of music in our lives, especially for those who find music a useful tool to getting better in their lives. So in terms of making music and choosing what to listen to, what would you recommend to those going into this new year, who are going to Riri, as you said?
Well, a lot of things, you see, a lot of times what we become is what we take in. it's very difficult for us to do better than what we have taken in. The information we have taken in it's very difficult to do better than it, you know. So I think the quality of what you want to become in life will be determined by the quality of what you decide to take in. So it affects the kind of music we listen to. Words are powerful, but when you put creativity to those words, when you put melody and harmonies to those words, they become very retentive. They stay with you like almost forever. And they're actually working in your life because they eventually land in your mind. And everything that happens comes from there. That's why you will hear wise people will say that renew your mind, because that's where the issues of life come. So I think going forward in 2022, we need to be deliberate about the kind of circles we keep, the kind of things we listen to, because eventually they will make us.
Speak to the young man, or rather, younger man, because if I ask you now, you say you're a young man. So speak to the younger people who need this kind of counsel that you've given, because they're in the majority in our population in Nigeria, and in every environment we find ourselves, they are the most prominent category of people in Nigeria today. So in order to make, I mean, you can also speak to some of the choice challenges you had growing up before you became the Mike Abdul that is the way you are now. You may want to share your personal experience of how making the right choice was difficult and how you were helped to make the right choice.
All right. I think one very strong one for me was my mom. My mom would pray the hell out of your life. My mom can pray. You know, my mom would wake us up very early in the morning. As children, I was the eldest, you know, of four of us. I was the eldest and I was just 7, for Christ's sake. My mom would have woken us up by 5:30 for prayer. She knows that in the
must have enjoyed it.
We did not. She knows in the course of prayer we're going to sleep off, but she will still wake you up. But the amazing thing is, at the end of the prayer, in our sleep, when she goes, "In Jesus' name we pray," everybody will resurrect. Amen. It was like that. My mom will flog you, and then she would use the name of God to flog you. In the name of God, you will not be a bad child. You are more, God will keep you, and she's flogging you, you know. I'm like, mommy, amen. He will keep me.
Would that say that's inspired flogging?
I see. It's amazing. And yes, and from primary school, I had to go to boarding house. I went to Mayflower School in Kenya. And while in school now, for the first time, I had freedom. I was going to be free. I could make my own decisions. I don't have to depend on my parents no longer. That's the way it felt. But anytime I felt like doing wrong, see, I would hear my mom's voice from Lagos. Michael, you are mine. And honestly, because she was consistent on the matter, it helped me in my decision making. From there, going to tertiary institution, it really helped me. I mean, several times would have been in the cults and stuff like that, but it never really happened because I knew where I came from.
You would just hear that voice.
I will hear it. Like I survived. I will hear it, you know. And decision making really, really helped me. I eventually quickly discovered in my early 20s that, guy, what you're going to be like when you're 40, you need to think of it now and start working at it. You are going to determine what you look like when you're 60. You need to determine it and make your decision on what it's going to be.
Even though then at 20, I don't think you had all this.
I know, I didn't.
But that place of parenthood is critical.
It is.
A good number of people have been talking about that, you know, for a bit. So sometimes parents say things, make decisions that are displeasing to us.
True.
And it's difficult, it's a bitter pill to chew every time that happens. But then there are those young people who say, this is what they want. And because the parents don't want to, I don't know, wrong them or whatever, and give them whatever they want, whether or not it is good for them. You just say, it's your life. What would you say to both the young person and the parent in this regard?
Well, it's amazing. Well, I would also always say that the power to do whether good or wrong is really in our hands eventually. A wise person will tell you, teach a child the way he should go. When he grows up, he would not depart from it. And I really believe that. I think as parents, we will, as much as possible, do our best to always direct our children in the way they should go. Now, there's going to be a time they would grow old enough to want to make their own decisions. We also should recognize that and be able to handle it with them in love. Now, if as our children have been growing, we've been a part of their lives, right? They would find it comforting and not displeasing to want to discuss with us on the decisions they want to make. Even as they are growing into adulthood, they will still feel that I need counsel. I need my dad. I need my mom. So I think it's not something that would just happen suddenly. We have to be part of the process.
And for those who don't have parents?
For those who don't have parents, yes, we love you. Look, look at the bright picture. Don't worry, you'll be fine. For those who do not have parents, I think our society does enough to show love, actually. And of course, we also have some unfortunate situations too, where they can be misled. But it's still a matter of the choices we also make. And I'll also say to every one of us, as much as possible, reach out to as much people you can. Whatever good or wrong you do, somebody is recording it. It's going to be the template by which those people will live their own lives. You are someone's mentor. You are someone's mentor. You may not know it. They're watching you to become.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot right now, and then we'll go back to singing. Let everyone else get ready. In your opinion, Mike Abdul.
Yes, sir.
What kind of leader do you think Nigeria needs now? I know you're intelligent enough to know what to say, so.
Honestly, I think the kind of president we need now.
No, leader.
Leader, that's it, that's the word. Okay, the kind of leader we need now is the one that doesn't take leadership just as a career. Our politicians are only fulfilling their career goals. That's the unfortunate part. So if you put the people ahead, that's the only way we can move forward. If you put the people ahead, it's the only way we can move forward. But if it's just about the career, fulfilling my career, right, we won't really go far. I think that's what we need. We need a people-passionate leadership. That's what we need.
Well, the people are waiting right now to listen to you lead them.
Thank you.
in doing the things that you do.
you.
Mike Abdul, thank you so much for being a part of our new year. So this experience is like a continuation of what we did, last week, thanking God for all that has happened in the year.
That's so.
And projecting literally to what is going to happen in the year 2022.
Yes, sir.
So it's the year in which we begin another electioneering process, so to speak. Now, we have a song in Channels Television, and that's what I'm going to insist you begin with.
All right.
Our song is Ishe Oluwa Kolibaje. Ishe Oluwa. I don't know how you're going to know whether it's going to be 6/8 or 4/4. I don't know. But that's what I want you to begin with. And then you can take it until we call it a morning.
Let's go.
Okay. So,
are you ready? Is my microphone on? Woo! Sound, please. Everybody, is that all you want? Hey, hey. Is that all you bàjẹ́. Iṣẹ́ Olúwa o. Kò lè bàjẹ́ o. Iṣẹ́ Olúwa kò lè bàjẹ́. Láíláíláí. Nàìjíríà iṣẹ́ Olúwa ni. Kò lè bàjẹ́. Channels TV iṣẹ́ Olúwa iṣẹ́. Kò lè bàjẹ́ o. Nàìjíríà. Oh, yeah, 30 billion, hallelujah. Are you? Oh, yeah, 30 billion, 30 billion. Billion, hallelujah. 30 billion, hallelujah. 30 billion, hallelujah. 30 billion, hallelujah. 30 billion, hallelujah. Jesus. Oh, favor and power. Anointing lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. Because I say yes, sir. You are doing well. Your miracle is on the way. That's those I see. Come on, go take it. Olúwa ló lè gbé. Bùkátà ayé rẹ̀. Olúwa ló lè gbé. Mommy, everybody. Daddy, ẹgbẹ́ sẹ́nà. Kò ṣe dúró wò. Kò ṣe dúró wò. Kò ṣe dúró wò. Jésù mi dà. Jésù mi dà. Ó dojú tó ṣó. Ó dojú tàjà. Àlá ti wọlé. Jésù kórè dé. Jésù mi dà. Jésù mi dà. Má lọ wá o. Ẹ sọ fẹ́ ṣùkọ́ má lọ wá o. Ibi tó lè ṣáyẹ̀ sí. Àwọn ọmọ Jésù àti ìjà o. Gbogbo ìdè ti jà. Orúkọ Jésù làbí ìjà. Àdúrà kì í pọ̀ jù. Kò sáwọn bẹ́yà ti yà. Nínú ṣáàṣì, àwọn sókèrò hallelujah. Nínú ìjà wa, ṣàdúrà ṣàbí kò síjà níbẹ̀. Ọmọ ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì wa. Ó yá ká Báíbù. Mákòójó tó rọ̀ lánàá sóhun ló gbé Báíbù. Ọmọ ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì wa. Ó yá ká Báíbù.